I know as well as anyone that the UFC rankings are more or less useless in the grand scheme of things, but I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief as Islam Makhachev officially moved into the lightweight top 5 as the list updated last Wednesday. Because while the number beside his name isn't overly important, it still does put some pressure on the fighters around him to drop the narrative that has engulfed his rise in recent times. I don't believe that there's no truth to the notion that these lightweights are ducking Islam. To be honest, if they were to duck anyone, he would be right up there on that list. But given that he had been operating on the fringes of the top 10 up until this point, his low ranking did indeed serve as a deterrent, something that only furthered the risk, especially if you were occupying a higher spot. Rafael dos Anjos, a man who will truly fight anyone, attempted to break this mold, but of course his pair of scheduled fights with Makhachev fell apart for various reasons. And for a fighter in the top 5 looking down on Islam, it is understandable that they would see the risk-reward balance as not being justifiable, given their position. Because though Makhachev is clearly one of the best lightweights on the planet, his best wins have come against guys who are still making their own ascent, guys like Drew Dober, Arman Tsarukyan and Thiago Moises. And I expect those wins over Dober and Tsarukyan in particular to age quite well. But even now, despite his dominant shutdown of Moises last weekend, I do think that Islam is in need of a big name to fill out his impressive resume. Even if I think him jumping Tony Ferguson, RDA, Conor McGregor, Dan Hooker and even Gregor Gillespie is a bit odd considering who he has beaten. With Makhachev now firmly established as the number 5 ranked lightweight on the planet, I think that we're at least on the verge of getting a better idea of where this guy is headed. And if that helps this clearly awesome talent get himself a bigger fight, then that's fine by me. Because among those names, the names that now fall below him in the top 10, and those who are just above him in the top 5, there are numerous matchups that I think make a lot of sense. I was impressed by what Makhachev showed us in his last fight, even if it wasn't a stunning showcase. Islam is just a cut above these fighters so far, and over the course of the 4 rounds he spent in there with his opponent, he was barely threatened. For all intents and purposes, Makhachev did exactly what he had to do, and with his ongoing win streak now extended to 8, I think it's fair to say that this is where the fun begins. But who exactly gets the call to take on this informed talent next? Well, for me, I think you can rule out the likes of Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, and even Michael Chandler for various reasons. Islam is definitely going to be faced with a step up in competition next, a fighter within the top 10, one who has a name that carries more weight than his previous opponents. On a side note, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads, before leaving a comment to let YouTube's algorithms know that we're fast becoming one of the best MMA channels on the platform. I see Rafael dos Anjos, Dan Hooker, Tony Ferguson and Beneil Dariush as the most viable candidates with this in mind. And out of all of them, I do like the RDA fight as a real litmus test for Makhachev at this point in time. I know dos Anjos' strength of schedule has seen him dragged through a who's who of world-class fighters in recent years, but RDA can clearly handle it. Even when he's losing, he's always a very tough task. And I think that his well-roundedness will force Islam to show elements of his game, elements that have yet to be revealed inside the octagon. If that fails, I'd be happier to see him in there with Dariush than I would with either Hooker or Ferguson, guys who in my eyes need to be put up against more favourable stylistic matchups next time around, rather than a man who can well and truly leave them nullified if all goes to plan. And that's exactly what Islam Makhachev is. I think if there was one criticism I could make of his performance last Saturday, and in reality it's not even much of a criticism, it'd be that he is in some ways guilty of fighting to the level of his opponent, not truly showing an urgency to make his levels known. Because I know that fighters and their teammates will often say that a certain guy hasn't even shown us their full skill set, that we're only really seeing about 30% of their levels. And most of the time that comes as a result of fighters who just aren't as good under the bright lights, or just simply ones who haven't had the right opponents or opportunities. But with a guy like Islam Makhachev, I do think that as his competition levels increase, he'll be forced to dig deeper into his bag of tricks than he has been up until this point. And as that happens, all of the subtle things that have been picked out by the experts and the hardcores will be shown to be more and more significant. As the grappling defenses beneath him become more skilled, as the striking exchanges get more dangerous, that's when we'll really see how good this guy is. The slow rise of Islam Makhachev has been helpful in the sense that it has truly allowed us to become fans of this excellent talent, giving him the room to refine and grow into the title contender that we all see him becoming. But with the exit of Khabib Nurmagomedov at the top of the division, the time to see just how far this guy can go has come. And though there's no way I can be 100% convinced just yet, due to the lack of elite tests he has faced, I don't doubt that this guy has all of the tools needed to reach his clear potential. The boots that he is attempting to fill are gargantuan, but let's just put all of this Khabib 2.0 talk to bed. This is a different fighter, another excellent addition to perhaps the most stacked division in the sport, and as far as I can tell, his next bout is going to be an absolutely crucial one in establishing where he's headed. But what did you make of this latest victory from this highly touted prospect? And who would you like to see him take on next, as he searches for a big name to add to his impressive resume. Do let us know your opinions in the comments section below. We always love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.